Hi everyone, welcome to the video. These are my three S-Class picks this week. So they're all from the 1960s. So they are ancient cars with a lot of history. But first, we're going to start with the 1966 number 2 Ford GT40, the Mark II Le Mans edition. And with that, let's get into the build. So, starting with performance, let's go from right to left. In conversions, we've got a stock drivetrain and stock aspiration. We do have the front race bumper on with a stock clutch, race transmission, stock driveline and a race differential. On wheels, we've got the front and rear rim size on 16 inches just to drop it a few bits of PI. And the Speedline F1s, which are the lightest wheels. Moving to tyres, we've got a race tyre compound with a 275mm front tyre and a 375mm rear tyre. In platform and handling, there's race brakes, spring and dampers, front and rear race anti-roll bars, a race weight reduction, no roll cage and no ballast. And in engine, everything's completely stock, likewise fuel and air. So with that, let's now hop into the tune. So for car number 1, the tune is 24 psi front and 24 psi on the rear. These are the gearings that I've opted for. Feel free to chop and change as you wish. I felt this was quite a decent all-rounded ratio. Alignment, we've got negative 0.5 on the front and negative 1.8 on the rear. We've got 0 toe and a 7.0 degree of caster. Now anti-roll bars, they're quite soft. They're at 2.84 on the front and 7.57 on the rear. If you want it to be a lot more aggressive, just chop these up by maybe 10, so it's 12.8 and 17.5, but this makes it a very, very easy and stable car to use. Springs, we've gone for a stiffer front, even though there is more weight over the rear. We've got 513.2 on the front and 430.4 on the rear, and we've slammed the ride height to 3.3 inches front and a 3.3 on the rear. Heading to damping, we've got a 4.6 front bump stiffness and a 4.1 rear bump stiffness, and the rebound on the front is 9.0 and the rear is 7.6. If you want a bit of a sharper turning, reduce the rebound on the front by maybe 2 or 3 clicks. It will make it turn a bit sharper. Suspension in geometry, we've got the roll centre at 7.5 inches front and 9.1 inches on the rear, and the anti-dive is at 55.6% with an anti-squat at 52.3%. Aerodynamics, I've got the front at 100 pounds, so maxed out, and then the rear at 180, not completely maxed out but not too far off. For brakes, the balance is 50, the pressure is 150, and the differential is 125%. Now moving on to car number 2, we've got the 1963 Shelby Monaco King Cobra, and heading into the performance shop, we've got, from right to left, we've got the race rear wing and the race front bumper, a street drive line. Heading to wheels, we've got the front rim size as 18 inches and the rear at 16, and wheels L to Q, I've gone for the Mickey Thompson Classic Lock. Tyre compound, we've got a race compound with 275mm on the front and 305mm on the rear, so max front and rear tyre width. We've got race brakes, we've got an extra heavy ballast in platform and handling. We've got stock engine, so nothing in engine, and a stock fuel and air system. So let's hop into the tune itself, and starting with tyre pressures, I've got 22.5 psi front and 20.5 on the rear. So gearing, these are the ratios that I've gone for. It tops out at 177. It's quite quick, quite nippy, and these gearing do suit the actual power band of the car, so feel free to chop and change if you want, but that's what I went with. The alignment, negative 1.2 on the front, negative 1.3 on the rear. We've got a 0 front toe and a 0.2 degree of rear toe, and a 7.0 degree of caster angle. Anti-roll bars, very soft. We've got 8.04 on the front and 5.73 on the rear. All this does is just slow that reaction time down from transitions and makes it a lot easier to place the car exactly where you want it. Spring stiffness, the front's 350.4 and the rear is 230.3. These old cars do suffer from having a lot of front end grip and very twitchy into corners. This just slows that front end down and makes it a lot easier to place that car exactly where you want it. lap after lap. Now the ride height I've gone for 4.7 and 4.7. For damping, the bump stiffness is 4.6 on the front and 4.3 on the rear, and a rebound stiffness at 7.5 on the front and 6.5 on the rear. The roll center height, I've got 5.9 front and 5.1 on the rear. Anti-dive is 60.3 just to keep that front end up off the ground when slamming the brakes on, and the anti-squat is at -23 just to aid in the traction exiting corners. Max front and rear downforce, 100 pounds front, 200 pounds on the rear. We've got a braking balance of 50 and a pressure of 150. Feel free to change these if you want. And acceleration is at 10% and deceleration is at 6%. Now this is a very, very sweaty car. Feel free to give this a go and let me know exactly how it works out for you. And moving on to the final car of the video, we've got the Ferrari 1967 number 24 Ferrari Spa 330 P4. This car is decent off the bat, to be fair. It doesn't need too many adjustments, but let me just show you what I've got anyway. Well, the adjustments that we've made have made it a lot more stable and easier to use. So let's go into performance. And starting from right to left, we've got the race rear wing and a race front bumper. On drivetrain, we've got a stock clutch, race transmission, driveline and differential. Wheels sizes are completely stock, both 15 inches, but we do have the lightest alloys with the Team Dynamic Racing's Pro Race 1s. On tyres, we've got a race compound with 275mm on the front, 375mm on the rear. Platform and handling, we've got race brakes, a stock weight reduction, no roll cage and an extra live ballast just to get it into S-Class. Engine, we have nothing installed on there, everything is stock, and the same system in fuel and air. So let's hop into the build. So the tune is 23 psi front, 21 psi on the rear. Gearing, this is the ratio and the individual ratios that I've opted for. Feel free to change if you want. Alignment, -1.4 front, -1.2 on the rear, 0 front toe, 0.2 rear toe, and a 7.0 degree of caster angle. Anti-roll bars, I've got 11.14 front and 15.15 on the rear. Again, just aids with that extremely quick transitional speed that these old cars do suffer from. Springs, 345 pounds on the front, 408.5 pounds on the rear. We've got a 3.7 inch front ride height, and I've just knocked the rear up ever so slightly to 3.4 to aid in getting some more rotation on corner exit. On damping, front bump stiffness is at 4.4 and the rear bump is at 4.5. And the rebound is at 7.7 front and 7.9 on the rear. Quite a well balanced out car. Roll center, I've got a 7.5 inch on the front, 7.5 inch on the rear. Anti-dive, we've got 80.3% on the front and 66.5% on the rear. This just stops a lot of movement of the car and makes it a lot easier to rotate on corner exit and keep the front end in check on corner entry. Downforce, I've got maxed out downforce front and on the rear, so 100 pounds on the front and 200 pounds on the rear. Braking balance is 50, the pressure is at 150, and the acceleration is at 100% and the deceleration is at 0. This is at 100 just to try and get that back end to rotate because it does have some very big tyres on the rear. But they're going to be my 3 builds for this week. I'm sure I'm probably going to see a lot of these cars in the lobby, so if I do see you and you are using my build, let me know. But as always, take care of yourselves, guys. Stay tuned for more.